Hey everyone, welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at the Superbox Elite Ultra. This is the latest Superbox that I have actually received. So first thing we'll do is take a look at the actual specs. So this one, once again, is also running off the quad-core ARM Cortex-A53 processor. It does use the Mali G31 MP2 GPU. It has 4GB of DDR3 RAM, 128 gigabytes of internal storage. It does support up to 6K 60 FPS H.265 decoding. It does come with dual band Wi-Fi 6 as well as gigabit Ethernet. It supports Bluetooth 5.2. It's running Android 12 and it has the option of installing multiple premium apps that come bundled with it. Next we'll take a look at the unboxing, and then later in the video I'll give you a demonstration of the actual home screen. Okay, so let's do the unboxing. So first up we do have the actual Superbox itself. In the box you get the standard remote, you get a HDMI cable, you get the US power adapter, and they did send me a separate adapter, and you get the user guide. So this is just the standard remote. Pull the bottom section down. It doesn't come with any batteries, and the power adapter is 5V 2A. Install the show the actual box itself. Okay, so there we have the actual box itself. So on the front of the box you have the display, you have a little LED indicator, and on these ones you do actually have the power button. Coming on to the left hand side you just have some venting. On the right hand side you have a TF card, a USB 1 which is USB 3.0, USB 2 which is USB 2.0, and a restore button. You have two built-in antennas, and you have the DC port, the IR port, AV port, HDMI port, Ethernet port, and then the optical SPDIF. You can see it does have this chamfered edge, and once again the finish on this, I was going to say the finish is not the best, but that is an intentional ridge because this bit is actually inset. On the bottom you can see that it is the Elite Ultra, and it does take a input of 5V 2A. Okay, and that's everything that you get with the box itself. Okay, so one other thing, you can actually opt to have additional remotes included with your actual package. So this is the remote that I've been sent in addition to the original one, and here is the actual remote. So it's basically a full QWERTY keyboard. You do have some multimedia controls just there, you have some power controls there, you have your directional pad as well as some quick buttons like home, and then you also have this trackpad as well, which is, you can see it, you can use multi-touch input for that as well. You have your left click and right click for your mouse, and then you can operate it in that way. So it does come with its own battery installed. You connect this to the box in order to connect it, and you can charge it via the micro SD, I believe it is, just there. And then you have the off and on button just there. So that's everything that I got with my package. And welcome to the home screen of the Superbox Elite Ultra. So what we'll do in this portion of the video is take a look at the layout, what you get with it in terms of apps, and just a little bit of general usage. The one thing I won't be doing in this video is going into each individual app, because that generally tends to breach YouTube's community guidelines. So what I'll do is I'll give you an overview in terms of what you get. In terms of showing you, that I can only do via the link in the description. So if you go to my Rumble channel, I can go into a lot more depth and probably do a longer video over there as well. In this video I just want to try and keep it a little bit more brief compared to some of my more recent videos, so we'll just do an overview in terms of what you're actually getting. Firstly, if you've had it or if you've seen any of the Superbox videos, I do have about 3 or 4 other ones on my channel. You'll straight away notice that the home screen layout is slightly different, so you do have more grids. The actual picture on the right hand side is slightly less in terms of the amount of space it's taken up, and you get more actual personalized apps. So all of these, those top 2 in the middle row just there, and then all of these ones along the bottom, you can customize as and how you choose. So I prefer that. I would actually prefer if you could just customize all of these completely and just have one separate box for apps, but that's the layout that you get, and it at least helps you keep your favorited apps in these sections here. So first thing we'll do is we'll just come into the App Store section. So as with all the other Superboxes, initially when you come in you will have a green Android logo App Store icon. Once you click on it, it will download and you can then go into it. This is the App Store that you can download apps from without having to sign in. So for example with Google Play you would need to sign in. This you can do it without having to sign in, and as with all the other ones, you do still get all your Blue apps. So you get Blue VOD, you get Blue TV, and you also get Blue Playback. And with this particular box, the Elite Ultra, what they've done is they've separated everything out. So then everything is in this one section. So if you go into the Elite apps, this is everything that you actually get additionally with the Elite Ultra in comparison to the normal Elite model or the normal super boxes as well. So this whole section you don't get on the normal super box, be it the S4, the S5 Pro, the S5 Max, and even the Superbox Elite, which is another model in the lineup. That doesn't come with as many as this. So this one is the maximum in terms of what you get with it. So all of these are a combination of VOD, live TV, and playback apps, and they all work pretty well. Some of them will need VPNs in order to bypass UK ISPs, but that's just a sort of UK thing. That's nothing to do with the actual box itself. In terms of installing, you literally just do what I've just done there. So these two apps do have updates. So you just click on it, it will then download them in the background and automatically install them. You don't need to do anything manually yourself. It will just automatically. So as soon as that's done, you'll get the little tick icon, and that means it's actually completed. We'll wait for this one to complete and you'll be able to see a sort of live example of what it actually looks like. As you can see from the actual file size, the actual apps themselves aren't very large, and all of the sort of data or anything with regards to content is just downloaded live. So you do need a decent internet connection, I would say. So as you can see, that Elite Cinema is now done, and that will just be installing in the background, and it should get a tick next to it shortly. But yeah, in terms of internet connection, I would say as long as you've got 10 meg or above, you should be fine. If you do use a VPN, VPNs generally tend to slow connections down up to like 10% of the original speed, or as low as 10% of the original speed, and that's what I find with most of the ones in the UK. With my connection, for example, I've got a gigabit connection, so even with a VPN, I should still be getting at least around about 100 meg down and probably around 10 meg up, which is more than enough for any of these kind of boxes. Okay, and there we go. So the Elite Hub is also downloaded, and I'll just be installing in the background, and there you go. So that is now up to date. So all of those particular ones are included in the Elite apps. You do still have quite a lot of other apps here that you can install, and these ones, one click and it'll download. When you first do this, do give it time to actually install. If you exit out of this app whilst it's still downloading, it won't download those particular apps. What I would suggest is when you first get the box, install the ones that you want to try out or you want to actually have there, and just give it time to install all of them. Do come in periodically just to make sure that you haven't got any updates like I did have there. That'll just make sure that you've got the latest versions of every particular app. Okay, so that's the App Store. So if you come into the apps folder, this is where you've got all the apps, and in here it generally tends to install or lay out in terms of the order that you've installed. So your latest apps are at the top and your oldest apps are at the bottom. So these are all the ones that came with the box. So you do have the ROM update, and what I would suggest is you do come in here when you first get the box, because my box did have a ROM update and it did actually improve the performance, not only on this one but on some of the other boxes that I've had as well. So do go in there every now and then just to make sure that the box is fully up to date, and any ROM updates sometimes can actually make quite significant speed updates. You do have a shortcut to the App Store app, the one that was just in here as well, and you have Play Store and all the other sort of generic apps there as well, and you can take your time and go through and all of these and test them all out. Coming back, you do have a browser. I've never actually made use of the browser. With the box you do get the sort of normal Superbox remote. I did actually get the additional keyboard remote with mine as well. Unfortunately, that one for whatever reason isn't working. It only works while it's plugged in, and it's a very short USB cable. So basically I've not really played about with that too much, but general usage around this particular type of box, you can get away with just your cursor keys. I don't find a need for the browser, but if you did want to use it, it is there for you. And then these three top sections, you basically just go in and add these yourself. So normally all three of these were blank. You go in, you hit add, and then you choose the apps that you want to actually add into each particular section. So we can come in here and we can add them just like that, and they should now appear. There we go. And once again, they will appear top left as it's laid out. So everything top from the top down is your newest apps, and everything at the bottom is your oldest apps. These ones, if you want to actually change any of them, all you would do is hit the menu key and that would remove it, and then you just go in and add another one. Same thing again, exactly the same. You just come in here and you just click on it. Once it puts a tick next to it, when you go back, it'll be there. If you do want to change it, you hit, as I say, this sort of settings or menu key on it. That will remove it. Along the bottom is all your standard sort of stuff. The one thing I would suggest is, in order to sort of pair the remote when you first get it, if you just come into this section here, it tells you how to pair the remote, and that also sets up your voice commands as well. What I've personally found is the voice search does work, but it doesn't work as well as it probably should do. So for example, live TV. So as you can see, it's kind of just picked anything in terms of what it's gone into, rather than, and that's actually done a YouTube search, rather than going into the live TV section and picking one of these apps. Maybe if I only had one app in here, it would do that, but because I've got more than one, it just kind of uses whatever apps it likes. But the voice search does work generally quite well, and it can actually pick up what you're saying generally quite accurately as well. You do have a shortcut for the web search for the speed test app, and this will just give you a general indication in terms of what speeds you're getting. So I do have it connected via gigabit Ethernet, but even still, what I have found is the Superboxes, they generally don't tend to get full speed in terms of what it's actually capable of. You can activate the mouse cursor on this particular remote, and it'll give you some information in terms of your upload and download speeds separately. So it is actually still running in the background. If I did run this at different times, I have had up to 800-900 meg. Anything above 100 meg is more than enough. Worst case scenario, it needs to be at least 10 meg in order for any of your live TV channels or premium apps to actually work smoothly. So coming out of there, next to that you do have your cleanup. So this once again is exactly the same as all the other Superboxes. So this is just your cache cleaner and just speeding up your box. You do have some file access here, so if you did want to go in and just clean up, either access a USB stick, it does have 2 USB ports on the side of the box, so you can either access them here, or if you did want to just go in and manually delete any files, any downloaded APKs, anything like that, you can do that from there as well. As you can see from the sort of left hand side, the box does come with 120 gigabytes of built-in storage, and I've only used 8.3 gig. So, and that's with all of the premium apps installed, so you're not gonna need a lot of that sort of storage space. So some of these apps do give you the option to actually record content, and that's where all of that extra space would come in handy. Just quickly coming into settings, this is exactly the same as every other Android TV box. It's not quite like the Tangula. So the Tangula was the one that gave you the option of setting a range for your video resolution, and then it will just automatically switch. On these ones, you do have to actually manually come in and set it. Now normally I would go 4K 60, but because I am using a video recorder, that maxes out at 30 FPS. What you could do is, if you come to match content and frame rate, you could select this, and you would have to select non-seamless. Seamless only works on the very newest devices, and that's where it switches resolution on your TV or projector to either 24, 50 or 60 FPS or 60 Hertz, depending on what content you're actually streaming. So yeah, you would need to set that. For most devices, it would need to be non-seamless in order for that to work. You do have other settings in there, and the one that I always tell everybody to come in and change is your CEC settings. So then when you turn on the device or you turn it off, it will automatically turn on your TV or your projector and vice versa. So overall, I have tested all of these apps, and what I'll do is I'll put on screen in terms of what apps work directly for me here in the UK and what apps require a VPN, and the general usage. Every single one of the premium apps work. So there's none of these apps that didn't actually work. Some of them are more useful than others in terms of my personal interests, but they all come with a lot of content. Some of them are also duplicated, so a few of these like Area 51 and maybe Matrix IM, I think some of those, and Robin Hood TV, some of them are basically like the same content but just in a different app. But it does mean that if worst case scenario one went down, you then have backups and you have multiple apps that you can actually use. I've only had it for a short period, and obviously I've done quite a lot of testing in that period of time. Every single one of them did work. Any of the ones that didn't initially log in, if you just turn on a VPN, they will then work. And in terms of content, they give you more than what the standard Blue TV apps would give you, because that's what you're paying the premium for. Overall, I think this is definitely the best Superbox that I've tested to date, and it's the most encompassing in terms of content and premium apps that you can actually get. For this particular one, I have actually arranged a discount with the seller, so I have links in the description, and with that, if you put in my code or if you just use my affiliate link, it should give you at least 10% on top of any other offers. Now the seller has also set up a few other discounts whereby if you purchase any of the other boxes, so be it the S5 Pro or the S5 Max, for the first 20 or 25 units, he will then give you an additional either 20% or 10% on top as well. But that is a limited time offer, so once those 20 units or 25 units are sold, then that offer no longer exists, and it will only be my standard sort of agreed discount, which is the 10% that I've managed to arrange for all of you guys. So if you are purchasing, please do follow that link in the description below. So the seller is actually listed under DeWitt Group LLC on Instagram. He's the one who actually reached out and arranged for delivery of this particular box, and he's been really helpful in terms of getting everything sent out to me, getting everything set up, and just guiding me through any little teething issues I may have had. Luckily, when I got it, obviously because I've had quite a few of these, I've reviewed quite a few of these boxes already now, everything went quite smoothly. I was aware that with certain apps I may need to use a VPN, and it was just a case of figuring out which ones work directly and which ones need a VPN. I'll have all that information in the description below as well, so if you want to just quickly scan what you get in terms of the content, you can see it there as well. But as I said, I will have a longer video on Rumble, and if you go there, you'll be able to actually see more in-depth testing and sort of demonstration in terms of what you're getting. For me, overall, this is the best option Superbox has, and I'm surprised more sellers don't actually list it, but for me, this is the one that you want to actually be purchasing if you're interested in sports, live TV, pay-per-view, VOD, all that kind of good stuff. Then this is the one that you want. As I say, as always, I will have links in the description below. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and turn on notifications for any future videos, and I really appreciate if you can also give this video a thumbs up to help it reach a bigger audience. And until the next one, thanks very much for watching.